Hey guys, I'm Arush and today we'll talk about capital cities. Capital cities are extremely important for the region or the country they represent. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's first understand what a capital is. According to Oxford, the Oxford Dictionary is by that, the city or town that functions as the seat of the government and administrative center of a country or region is called its capital. Basically what that means is that the government of that country or region functions from there. So it's basically the most influential city, you can say it's the most influential city of the country. Today, of course, many different states or regions or countries can have capitals, but today I'm going to specifically talk about the different types of capitals, the different capitals of countries. Now, in most of the cases, the capitals are actually the largest city of the country. These are called primate capitals. Basically, they're the most influential, the most economically powerful, the most populous, basically the most powerful city of the country, normally the capital. For example, you can see London or Mexico City or Bangkok or even Kinshasa, etc. There are a lot of examples. These are just some of them. So I think it's fair to say that mostly the capital is decided by the amount of economic and political clout it has over a nation. Now let's move on to the various different types of capitals, because this is where it really gets interesting. Firstly, we have those capitals which are not officially recognized by the country. Basically, they're nowhere mentioned in the constitution or any legal documents or any laws or anything like that. They're not officially the capitals. However, they are widely recognized as the capitals because the government works from there and most of the government functions take place from that region. For example, some of the big examples are Lisbon in Portugal, or Paris in France, or Bern in Switzerland, which are not officially capitals of the respective countries, but they are widely recognized because that's where the government functions from. And then there are also those type of capitals which are officially the capitals of the country, but it's just for namesake. I mean, the government functions and the government does its activities from a different city and the government is located in another city. However, the capital city is just officially the capital. For example, there's the example of in Netherlands, Amsterdam is officially the capital of the Netherlands. However, the royal family stays in The Hague, and also the government, the legislature, the administrative and the judiciary, all of them are in The Hague. So Amsterdam is basically just a capital officially and nothing else. Another great example of that is the Ivory Coast. The Ivory Coast, the first president of the Ivory Coast, Felix Houphouët-Boigny, decided to move the capital from Abidjan, which is basically the economic capital and the most influential and the biggest city in Ivory Coast. He decided to move the capital from Abidjan to Yamoussoukro, which is located roughly at the center of Ivory Coast, as you can see over here, in contrast to Abidjan. He decided to move it there because Yamoussoukro, previously known as Ngokro, was his hometown, and he decided to name Yamoussoukro after his great aunt, Queen Yamoussoukro. However, still most of the government works from Abidjan and it is still officially the economic capital. And then there are also the capitals which are the capitals of the respective countries, mainly due to historic reasons. For example, there's Beijing, which has been the capital of China almost continuously for the last 600 years. And however, it's not even the biggest city in China, it's the third biggest city in China, with Guangzhou and Shanghai being bigger. And then there's also Italy, where Rome is the capital, which I'm sure most people must be knowing. However, the financial and the most populated city of Italy is Milan. Sometimes the capitals can also be for historic reasons. And then there are also the microstates, which are too small to actually have a capital. For example, there's Singapore, which as you can see is just a really tiny island at the tip of the Malay Peninsula. And then there's the Vatican City inside Rome, and then there's Monaco at the coast of France. So yeah, these are just few of the examples. And then comes the country with no capital city but a capital district, the country of Nauru, which is a tiny island in the Pacific Ocean of just 21 square kilometers. So basically all the government buildings and everything are located in the district of Yaren. So you can say Yaren is the capital district of the country. As you can see, even the airport is located in Yaren. Generally, a capital is preferred to be placed at the center of the city or at a place where it's tougher to capture in case of enemy forces, to keep it more protected. And also it has a dual advantage. Of course, it will keep it protected from foreign forces, and also it will act as the center of the country, so people from all over the country, it will be easily accessible to them, so it will lead to development of the whole country as a whole. So a few good examples of this are Madrid, which is located at the bank center of Spain, and then there's Abuja, which instead of Lagos, which is indisputably the largest city in Nigeria, Abuja was made the capital in the 1990s to ensure that this development also reaches the northern areas of the country. However, still it's mainly the southern regions which are more developed, with the northern regions also suffering from problems such as terrorism due to Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda and other groups. And then finally, the most interesting example of this all is Turkey. Turkey was basically created by the remnants of the Ottoman Empire following the First World War. So that time the revolutionary Turkish freedom fighter and the first president of Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, he basically, the capital of the Ottoman Empire was Istanbul or Constantinople, which is a very big city and one of the cultural hotspots of the world. And however, Ataturk decided to keep the capital Ankara because he wanted to symbolize it as an end of the Sultanate and the oppressive rule and a new future which included a liberal, secular republic. That's why he kept the capital in Ankara. Another reason is, of course, it was in the center of the country, which was also a big help, so that it couldn't be captured the way it was captured by the Allied forces towards the end of the First World War. And also, most of Ataturk's revolutionary fights, his base was first put in Erzurum and then in Ankara. So Ankara was where he had a lot of popular support. However, in Istanbul there was still a lot of remnants of the Ottoman Empire, and so there was a lot of support still for the Ottoman Empire, so it didn't seem like a good idea where the government could again be toppled. So that's why he decided to make Ankara the capital. And then there's the interesting case of Canada, whose capital is Ottawa, which actually isn't the biggest city in Canada, but that's actually not the most surprising part about it. Surprising part is Ottawa is located in the province of Ontario, and the funny thing is Ottawa isn't the capital of Ontario. Actually, it's Toronto, the biggest city of Canada, which is the capital of Ontario. However, Ottawa is the capital of the country. It's a funny anomaly. There's also the capital of Australia, Canberra, which was based on an act of compromise. As in 1913, that was the year Canberra was inaugurated, Melbourne was the largest city in Australia in terms of population. However, Sydney was the most historic city with most of the historical sites and also a very important city. Both of them had a very big rivalry and actually still do have a big rivalry. So as a sort of compromise, Canberra was made the capital, which is located roughly in between both the cities. However, some historians argue that the real reason was that Canberra was inland, so it would be less prone to attacks by foreign powers and diseases, and also Canberra had slightly cooler weather. Now we come to the countries with two capitals. These are actually the more interesting stories. Today I'm just going to go through a few of them which are actually interesting. Let's start with Yemen. Yemen actually has a permanent capital and a temporary capital. As you know, Yemen is going through one of the worst civil wars, and it actually is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world currently. So basically, Yemen, the northern regions have been captured by the Houthi rebels backed by Iran in 2015, and that's why the permanent capital Sana'a lies. So Sana'a has been captured by the Houthi rebels. That's why the Yemen government has been pushed back to only the coastal regions of the country. The coastal city of Aden has become the new capital, the new temporary capital of the country. Now we move on to a South American country with two capitals, Bolivia. It has two capitals, both of similar populations and sizes, La Paz and Sucre. La Paz is actually the highest capital in the world, located right in the middle of the Andes, while Sucre is located near the foothills of the Andes. Now, this is actually quite an interesting story, and it goes back to the Federal Revolution in Bolivia of 1899. At that time, the liberals were backed by the tin miners near La Paz, while the conservatives were backed by the silver miners near Sucre. So when the conservatives were overthrown by the liberals, their demand was to move the capital from Sucre to La Paz. So in order to keep a compromise, the conservatives decided to still keep Sucre as the official capital. It would give more powers to La Paz, with now La Paz being the executive and legislative capital. Now we remain in Latin America to explore another country with two capitals, Honduras, located in Central America. Now Honduras' official capital is Distrito Central, or municipality of the central districts, which is basically, as you can see on the map here, this region, which includes the cities of Tegucigalpa and Comayagüela. Both of them you can consider to be capitals because both of them come under the Distrito Central. However, mainly Tegucigalpa is considered the capital because all the government buildings and embassies are located in this region of the DC. Another country in South America with two capitals is Chile, the long narrow strip forming the west coast of South America. Until 1990, Santiago, which is the biggest city in Chile, was the only capital of the country. However, in 1990, once the brutal dictator Augusto Pinochet was overthrown from power, the new government decided to put another capital in Valparaiso and put the legislative assembly or the national assembly in Valparaiso to earn the trust of the people, and so to ensure there is a decentralization of power to earn the trust of people. However, the irony here is that Augusto Pinochet was actually born and raised in Valparaiso. And now we finally come to South Africa. So South Africa has three capitals. It has an interesting story. Basically, South Africa, when it was formed in 1910, the Union of South Africa, it basically was a collection of 4 British provinces or colonies, which were the Orange River County, whose capital was Bloemfontein, the Cape Colony, whose capital was Cape Town, Transvaal Colony, whose capital was Pretoria, and also the Naval Colony, whose capital was Pietermaritzburg. So hence, as a bit of a compromise and to ensure that too much power doesn't stay in the hands of one region, it was decided that South Africa would have 3 capitals. So now you might be wondering, why wasn't Pietermaritzburg made the capital? This was because, as you can see, Pietermaritzburg, Naval Colony was given a financial compensation instead of being made capital. Yeah, that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching, and please do share the video. Thank you.